A bit more than a week ago, Valve added trade protection to Counter-Strike skins. This was a major overhaul to how trading worked, and it was designed to protect users from being scammed. And despite containing some very radical changes, the response from the community was fairly positive. People understood that this was meant to address a very serious problem in Counter-Strike. Skin sites would temporarily shut down while they adjusted to the new changes, and major figures in the skin scene actively spoke up saying that the scene would adjust to this update just fine and that there was nothing to panic about. After about a day, sites were starting to come back online, and with people finally able to buy and sell again, the market immediately crashed. Really hard. Basically, about $600 million was stripped off the game's market cap in the space of 7 days. Many popular skins were taking significant hits. M4s in particular really seemed to get clapped, as did a lot of mid-tier and highly liquid stuff. Really expensive skins seemed to shrug it off a little bit better, but overall, this was still a colossal drop. In fact, the fall in the market cap was roughly half the size of the drop that happened when CS2 came out. Except that crash happened over months. This crash only took a week. In fact, it's so dramatic that it is almost certainly the quickest drop in market value ever in the history of Counter-Strike. And given how serious that sounds, you're probably wondering what the reaction from the community was. Well, according to Reddit, anybody freaking out about it was an idiot, and other people were enthusiastically looking to buy the dip. On Twitter, there was a little bit of concern, but most people weren't really even talking about it. Traders in particular were just brushing past it, like literally nothing was happening. Worst crash in the history of the CS market? Market schmarket, who even cares? Okay, so why are people kind of just ignoring this? Aren't skins people meant to be hysterical lunatics who freak out at the tiniest changes? I mean, not only have Valve apparently crashed the market, but apparently they crashed the market to try and protect some dumb kids from getting scammed or something. Surely, that is worth a petition with at least 100,000 signatures this time. But apparently people just aren't worried, and you're probably sitting here wondering why. Why does no one seem to care? It's almost like people knew it was coming. Well, let's look at the market itself. Firstly, the market is vulnerable right now. In fact, when this update launched, we were actually at an all-time record high for skin prices. You can see this on the Esports Fire 300, and many people had been expecting the market to crash already. In fact, it kind of almost did here, it just recovered super quickly. And while that's probably a sign of long-term resilience in the skins market, short-term, it is a sign that crashes can and quite possibly will happen again. Many skins have gone up in price by insane amounts over the last 6 months, and this meant they were very exposed when this update dropped, especially given it's also July, the time of year when the player base in Counter-Strike normally goes down. And guess what? Lately, the player base has been going down, and this is also not good for skins. So a crash right now would make a lot of sense. The market is in the perfect spot for it, and just a few people panic selling could easily trigger a chain reaction. But is this the explanation? Well, probably not, because if this was the case, the community would actually care. This kind of crash could potentially take 6 months for the market to recover from, and we'd probably be in for a very extended downturn either way. Obviously, if you own skins, this is just part of the game, it does happen, but people would at least be taking this crash a little bit seriously, rather than just ignoring it. So, maybe we need to look for something else. Well, let's start with how the market has changed. Obviously, the trade hold was a big curveball for skin sites. They had to change their systems, and what they did was really interesting. Basically, if you're a seller now and you sell something and reverse the trade, you get banned. If you're a buyer and reverse the trade, you don't get banned, but you also don't get your money back. The seller gets to keep it. Naturally, people in the latter category immediately started fucking themselves over when they tried to reverse their trades during the crash. But this may all be key to what's going on. You see, the way sites enforce this system is by locking up your money for 7 days after you trade. In the past, you get these funds right away. Now you have to wait. Why does that change things? Well, it changes things because CS players really like spending money on things. In fact, a while ago, a site dev told me that the average dollar on a skin site gets spent 1.5 times before it gets withdrawn. Now, I don't know if that figure is accurate anymore, but a lot of money that gets spent on skin sites definitely comes from people selling other skins on the site. And if you cut those people off from their money for 7 days, the amount being sent on skins is going to suddenly crash. And that should crash the whole market in the process. Well, that makes a lot of sense, but how do we test this theory to see if it's correct? Well, if it's correct, the market should have started recovering 7 or 8 days after the update. And fun fact, the market started recovering 7 or 8 days after the update. Really quickly as well. So it seems like this whole dip might have just been caused by players being locked out of their money for 7 days. And this is also the reason players were panicking too, because frankly, a lot of them knew this was going to happen. Lots and lots of people called this crash, and for anyone experienced with the market, it was pretty obvious. So, all is well, the skins market is safe, there's nothing else to worry about? Well, possibly not. The market is still really high right now, the player base is still falling at the moment, and it would be very surprising if the market doesn't go down at least a little bit during the second half of this year. Of course, this is the skins market though, so who actually fucking knows? But what we do know is that this just shows how resilient the market is. It's adjusted to big new changes very quickly and things are already back on track. And best of all, a whole bunch of scammers also got fucked in the process. That's a great thing, unless you're trying to move around thousands of cases. Valve, please fix. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. If you've enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe, massively appreciated. Otherwise, trust the numbers, not your guts. I'm IMPLODED. Thanks for watching. See ya.